Good afternoon. I'm Billy Staples, and today is another segment of Before the Glory. Actually, this is perfect weather. We're in Pennsylvania at a $50 million AAA baseball park, and we're going to be speaking to a pitching coach that has been in Major League Baseball, minor league baseball, but more importantly, professional baseball for 40 years. Ray Burris broke into Major League Baseball in the early 1970s, but way before he broke into Major League Baseball, Ray was a kid growing up not in the East Coast, not in the South, and not in the West. Ray, actually, nice to have you here today.
My pleasure, my friend. Always nice. You brought the nice weather. That's pretty cool.
Actually, this is perfect weather.
I might even get a tan today.
Where was growing up for you? What part of the country?
Growing up in Oklahoma for me in the 50s was challenging. You know, our country at that time had a lot of things going on society-wise, and for me as a young man coming up through that circumstances, it was challenging. Always wanted to be an athlete, excel in basketball, baseball, tried to run track, but I wasn't fast enough, you know. And so I stuck to what I felt I could excel in, and that was basketball and baseball. With that, it allowed me to get an education through basketball and baseball at Southwestern Oklahoma State University in Weatherford, Oklahoma. From that experience, I excelled at every level in basketball and baseball, and then was drafted by the Cubs out of college as a pitcher. Now, before I get to that, I was drafted out of high school by the Detroit Tigers as a catcher.
Really? As a catcher?
As a catcher. How about that? I had skills, Billy. Had skills. So now, I didn't sign out of high school. I went on to college. I was playing American Legion ball that summer, and the baseball coach from Southwestern saw me in a tournament in Oklahoma City, Cecil Devine. Came to me and he said, at that time it was Southwestern Oklahoma State College, down to university. They didn't give full scholarships.
Okay.
He said, I can give you a half a scholarship. And at that time, that was the highest scholarship that had ever been given at that college. A half a scholarship.
They wanted you, man.
They wanted me. So I went there, and playing basketball that winter at Southwestern, where I played with an intramural team. We were playing in the gymnasium, playing the championship game. And the basketball coach walks through the gym and sits down. Now, I didn't even know him. You know, I did not know him.
You're just doing your thing.
I was just doing my thing out there, having fun playing the game. After the game was over, we won. He comes up to me. He says, "Let me ask you something. You think you ever played basketball?" I said, "Yes, sir. I played in high school." He said, "Would you like to try out for the basketball team here in Southwestern Oklahoma State?" I said, "What do I have to do?" He said, "You got to run 3 miles under 20 minutes."
That's moving.
That's moving.
Yeah.
So I go out and I run it in 18 minutes. I make the basketball team. He gives me a half a scholarship in basketball. I go from a half a scholarship in baseball to a half a scholarship in basketball to a full ride, Billy. I mean, life was going good.
You were a businessman as a teenager.
As a teenager, I was a businessman. I understood the free enterprise system. So anyway, I played basketball, excelled in basketball. At that time, you had to be 21 going into your junior year to qualify for the draft in baseball.
With baseball, okay.
I was only 20 because I started high school at 5.
You're staying another year in school.
Yes. So now, my junior year was a phenomenal year. I lead the nation in baseball and wins in baseball, 16-4.
I don't know.
On every level.
Really?
So you don't spend time to talk to me. That's the problem.
I need to spend more.
You need to spend
quality
more
time.
Quality time. See? So now, I can't be drafted that year. I'm All-American. This is 1971. All-American pitcher, and that was NAIA division.
Did you go against some other guy that ended up in the big leagues?
I went against a lot of guys that ended up in the big leagues. Right. A lot of guys. Brett Butler, who was at Southeastern, who was in our conference, even played against Dennis Rodman. He went to Southeastern. Really? And so it was interesting during that era because I would have been a high draft choice. Now let me break down in my mind the difference between being a high draft choice and being drafted. Period.
Okay. All right.
So now I go into my senior year. I finished the season 9-4 my senior year because I didn't get out late because we were in basketball playoffs.
Your team did well.
My team did well, so my arm wasn't ready. So the rumor was floating around through the scouts that I had a sore arm. But nobody came and talked to me.
Of course not.
Absolutely
That
not.
would be
Go to the
that
source.
Would be high levels of communication.
That would be humanely insane. That's the way I put it. So now, I finished the season 9-4. I'm playing semi-pro ball in Lawton, Oklahoma for the Lawton Pepsis.
Okay.
That's why I love Pepsi today. Because I have Pepsi everywhere. I just drank Pepsi like it was out of stock. So now, I get drafted in the 17th round by the Chicago Cubs.
Partly because of the label, this kid might have a sore arm.
Well, because of I might have a sore arm. So now I go and I deal with the fact that, hey, I got a chance to get drafted. So that was my biggest thing. I got a chance to get drafted. I'm going to see what he's going to do for me. I had also graduated from college, so I had my degree to fall back on.
What was your degree in?
It was in recreational leadership, a minor in history, because I love history for some reason.
Did you, because that's a backup plan, when you were majoring in college, what was your fallback plan with this? Did you want to teach possibly? What were you thinking that you might do?
What I wanted to do at that time, what was really big in the recreational leadership field was government-run programs. Okay. So I was going to look at going into a government-run program to provide programs for senior citizens and things like that.
Is that what you wanted to do with baseball?
That's what I wanted to do.
Really?
Baseball hasn't done anything.
So the 17th round is not the 7th, the 10th?
No, it's not the
12th.
first.
No.
It's 17th round is, and that's in the secondary phase. So now, like yesterday was the first round.
Sure.
In the Major League Baseball draft. Today is the second round. Now they have so many draft picks in the second round. Then you have a third round tomorrow.
Sure.
So most people say, well, that's low. Well, I wasn't looking at how low it was. I was looking at the opportunity.
Sure.
Because you got to understand something. When you get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you have to be in a cotton field at 5 o'clock in the morning and the sun haven't even come up and you're still in the cotton field at 9 p.m. that night, there's not much room for extracurricular activities.
Let me back up to this here, because that's what this is about. We're mixing baseball with life. We're just using baseball players to kind of teach life. Before the glory means a lot. How many kids are in your family with mom and dad? 5. So there's 5. Where are you from oldest to young?
I'm next to the baby.
So you're the 4th kid in line. So you grew up seeing 3 older ones working to help the family.
I grew up seeing that.
Now, what did Dad do to put food on the table? He's working to do something to make an income.
We were sharecroppers.
Really?
Yeah, Dad was a sharecropper. We were sharecroppers.
Explain to the folks, right? What's a sharecropper? I get it, but not everybody.
A sharecropper is someone who works owners' lands. In other words, we go in, we fertilize the land, we plant the seeds, we harvest the fruits, we harvest all the things that the land and that owner has on the land. We are pretty much the ones that take care of the crops. So during that time, that was big in the 50s. You know,
sure.
I mean, and here's what was interesting and I'm proud of today. My mom and dad taught us how to be domesticated. And what I mean by that is I could cook at 5 years of age. I learned how to cook. I could wring a chicken's neck so good. It was poetry in motion.
Why?
People don't understand that.
In 30 years, why have you only gone out to eat with me? You've never said, Billy, our friendship, I want to cook for you. Is it because I'm not good looking enough? No. I'm not a female? What?
Not that. You can only cook so much in life. I've done my share of cooking. You know, I passed that down to my kids. So, you know, but I still like to cook every now and then.
So Dad's a sharecropper. What's your Ray? What's your pop's name?
Cornelius.
Really?
My dad's name was Cornelius.
Okay. And do you know where Ray came from? A relative or?
My name, Ray is my middle name.
Okay.
And my first name came from a lover in a love novel from my aunt.
You're never boring.
So that's, hey, I didn't know what was going on. I was just being born. So now, my first name is Bertram. Bertram.
Character
Bertram Ray Burris. It was a character in a love novel that my aunt loved for some reason and bestowed that on me.
Is this your mom's sister, or is
this is my mom's sister?
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're number 4. Is your first job as a little kid actually out there with the family, working the land?
See, during that time, you go to the field with the family.
Right.
And whatever you can do, whether it's bringing water
Right.
to the elders or helping out in some form or fashion, you did that. A lot of times, me and my younger brother would stay in the car while the family was working the land, and we just play, chase grasshoppers all over the cotton field.
Sure.
And made ourselves available. We wasn't left at the house. During, when that's the only thing you don't know anything else. That's what you grew up in.
They always use this phrase. It was a simpler time.
It was a simpler time. And when I say simpler time, we could leave our door open, our screen door open. The only thing we had to worry about was rattlesnakes coming in.
It's funny. I reflect back. I met Ray in the mid-1970s, and I kid him about this. But in the mid-1970s, with a pitching staff of only 10 or 11 back then, one of the things I vividly remember about him is he was one of the hardest working players at the ballpark before the game started. Sometimes after the game was finished. We've talked about that. You were a workaholic with your craft. I'm not talking about your arm. I'm talking about your conditioning.
Absolutely.
I guess that goes back to your childhood.
It goes back to my roots and what was instilled in me at a young age. My mom always used to say, so did my dad, say, look, never cheat your employer out of a hard day's work. And I never forgot that.
Yeah.
I never forgot that.
It's
And even now, let's just say all of this was taken away from me. Baseball was just, it's on the back burner. I could still survive just on my skills that I inherit during growing up. So it's nothing that scares me, but it's something I know that I wouldn't have to go into a panic mode because of.
You'd go back to your roots.
I go back to my roots, and I lock into the education that this sport has given me over many years, and the resources that has been afforded me over all those years, and pick up and move on.
I'd like to fast forward 2 questions with baseball so our viewers get the baseball feed, and then we'll go back to younger. 1, would you hold up your hand so our cameraman can focus in on that ring?
Oh, that there? That's what you work for.
Yep. Put that right up.
That right there is all of the chickens' necks that I wrung, all of the cotton fields that I patrolled, and all of the cotton sacks that I put on my back to haul to the trailer, and all the sleepless nights where we didn't have food on the table or heat in the house. This right here is what hard work affords you in the end.
What year, what team? Because you've been in baseball for 40 years.
This was 2012 with the Detroit Tigers.
And they won the World Series.
No, they did not. No.
They won the American League?
They won the American League championship.
Okay.
They won the American League championship and lost the World Series to the Giants.
And question, with 2012 and the Detroit Tigers winning the American League pennant, when the season was over for you with the younger folks that are trying to get their way up through the system, did you go back home to Texas, or did you go up to Detroit to gather in some of the postseason?
Well, went back to Texas, and then all of the minor league staff were brought to Detroit to see games 3, 4, and 5. But we only saw games 3 and 4 because we got shut out.
San Francisco took it 4 straight.
4 straight, and we just
actually
we didn't hit.
On your words, San Francisco had superb pitching.
It did. And good pitching will stop good hitting. That's just fact.
The second one, I know I didn't prepare you for this one. If you take the amount of baseball players that were pitchers, and so there's a number of Major League Baseball players that played this position, pitchers, and say whatever number of thousand it is, say it's 3, 4, 5,000, then it's a fraction. Of course, before the 1950s, relievers, that was something that hadn't been established yet. But everybody's a starting pitcher in the beginning of baseball, the first half century. You won over 100 games as a Major League Baseball player. That separates you from 70, 80, probably 85% of the players. So that means in the history of the game, with what you accomplished, you're in the top 10 to 15% in the history of your field. That's over a 15-year period, but you were a guy that was going to give his team 7, 8 innings. You weren't going to give that decision up to another player, except that that closer. You were right in that transition of
Right in the transition.
Yep. Thoughts
of,
on
of
that?
of all of that.
Success.
You know, when you hear those numbers, it kind of mind boggles you because you don't think about them. And then all of a sudden, because when I first got to the big leagues in 1972, the goal was to get 4 years in the big leagues to qualify for your pension.
Sure.
And that was our goal as a player. Everybody wanted to get that 4 years in to qualify for your pension. So you did whatever you had to do. And all of those work ethics that I had been given back when I was a child helped me to accomplish that. The one thing that I could do was throw strikes. And when you look at the years that I was able to play in the game of baseball, I played 15 years. Only 4% of all Major League ball players from the beginning to now are in that range. And I'm in the top 4% of that range years-wise. Because in the old days, guys would play 20, 26 years. I mean, Nolan Ryan pitched 26 years. That's unheard of.
Jim Kahn.
And they stayed with one club all those years. So now the times have changed so much that free agency has changed the game, not only on the player side, but on the management side. You don't see the same coaches in the same uniform year in and year out.
Who on the staff? Then I'll go back to, I want to get a little bit of high school in, a little bit of family, college, and then come up to 72. Who on that 1972-73 Cubs staff? Because there's the 4 starters. You had to wait your turn to get your chance.
Right.
Who were the guys in 72, 73?
73, you had Fergie Jenkins.
That's 20 wins each year.
Bert Hooten, Milt Pappas, Rick Russell, and
They're all 20-game winners.
They're all 20-game winners.
Everybody's trying to take everybody's job. They're the top 4 starters. Fergie's been interviewed the same way you have for this series. Who was the most helpful? Who took the young kid aside?
Fergie.
Was it Fergie?
The guy that took me under his wing was Jose Cardenal. Jose Cardenal took me under his wing. And when I say under his wing, I mean he helped me to understand how to be a Major League ball player, on and off the field. He would take me to places, take me with him to help me see how things are done. I learned a lot from him. Billy Williams was very instrumental in that. And to this day, I'm friends with all of them because of what they gave me. They taught me how to build credit. They taught me how, if I buy a home, try to have my homes and cars paid off by the time I get out of the game, because the insurance alone is going to be enough payment. Sure. That gave me a blueprint. And I was able to do the majority of those things that they said because they understood and could see the potential in me. And they knew that I could go out there and throw strikes, and I'd knock somebody down if I had to. And so they knew I knew how to compete. And the makeup I had was something they could identify with because they had the same makeup. So those were things that I try to implement even today, even as a coach. I did it as a player, and I try to do the same as a coach.